apologize. It's taken me a bit longer, but we're here today. We're here now filming. There was just a lot going on off camera, as you know. So, without further ado, let's talk about the books I read in June. I read 12 books. 12 books. And we're just gonna go in order from most recent, or the first that I read to the most recently finished. So, from chronological, bitch. I don't know why I'm trying to complicate it in my head. We're going chronologically. Let's get started. I started off the month by reading 2 volumes of True Beauty by HaleyJean. I found these at Target. This is originally a webtoon, but I think they just started publishing them as physical books, and they had the first 2. They're in color, and I really do like the art style. But so they had volumes 1 and volumes 2, and I will say the cover of 2 is pretty much why I bought it. It was a cover by. Super cute. So I read both of these in a day. I read it in 2 hours. It was great. The first volume I gave 5 stars. I will just quote my Goodreads review because it's all that needs to be said. But this series, it's a YA series about a girl who becomes obsessed with makeup videos and makeup tutorials and uses them to catfish people, essentially, is the premise. And 2 different boys fall in love with her, and there's a love triangle. It's a very, very YA. It's very 2014 is kind of the energy that it gives. But as someone that was unfortunately a teenager back then and used to be obsessed with there were just so many things that I related to in this series. So my Goodreads review is, and I quote, "This set women's rights back 50 years, but it is so slay. It slayed." Okay, it was so funny and stupid, but I had a great time. The second volume, however, volume 2, I only gave it 3 stars. I thought it was I didn't there was a whole new character and side plot brought in. It was a lot less about school and growing up. It's building up for the rest of the series, which maybe I'll continue, maybe I won't, I don't know. But I only gave the second book 3 stars because I just didn't like the direction it went. But the first book was so funny. I don't know if I'm gonna keep those physical books just because it was not my favorite read of the month, but cool. After that, I read Paper Princess by Erin Watt. If you did not know, Erin Watt is the pen name of Elle Kennedy, and I've read a few other Elle Kennedy books this year. They're hit or miss for me, but this is the first book in his series. And I'd heard a few other YouTubers talk about this series, and it intrigued me, so I decided I was going to read the first book. I actually listened to this on audio, and I hated the audio book. Don't recommend it on audio. But it's about this girl, Ella, and she is quite poor and struggling, and she's running away from home, and so she spent her whole life kind of having to take care of herself and everything. And so one day this guy finds her, Callum Royal, and he's like, "I knew your parents are dead, and I'm technically your legal guardian, you have to come live with me." And she goes and she lives with him, and he has 5 sons, and they all kind of torment her. It's definitely a bully romance. Here's the thing. This she is a minor. I think she's 17. Maybe she's 18. Maybe she turns 18 in this. I don't remember. I just remember she was very young, and she didn't need to be. They could have just set her in college and it would have been fine. It was just weird. But also the spice in it, I DNF'd it at 78-80%. I just didn't even finish the ending because there was a spicy scene with her and Reed, one of the brothers, and That's not a spoiler, by the way. It's like he's literally like the main guy. His name's on the back. But there was a scene, and the way it was written, it felt like it was written by a man. And like, if I'm reading a romance book, I know it's usually written by a woman, kind of for women as the audience. At least usually Elle Kennedy's books are, in my opinion. But this was not, and it's a bit older than her other works, so maybe I just didn't like her writing style in it, but it felt like it was written by a pervy man. Like, it was very strange. I just did not like it. The vibes it gave, the energy was bad. It was bad, so I gave it 2 stars. Not for me. Not my favorite Elle Kennedy read. Unfortunately, we're going to start a little rocky, because a few of these first few books I read at the beginning of the month weren't great, but then it picks up a bit. But next is another 2-star, and I talked about this on my Patreon podcast. I do a mostly Patreon exclusive podcast called I Am Haley, and it's just me rambling about whatever I want. And I gave a rant review, full spoiler, 10-minute rant review in the 2nd episode of the podcast on Patreon, but I'll just give you a summary. I have to give you a spoiler. I'm gonna give you a spoiler for this. It's not like a major spoiler in terms of it's really not essential to the plot, but it's why I hated this book, and I can't even talk. I have to tell you, okay? And don't even read this book, honestly. I don't recommend it. I picked it up because it was the first book in the Good Old Boys series. You can see it says Good Old Boys novel. It's Falling for Temptation by M.J. Hendricks. I got this, and I got the 2nd book in the series too, because I was that excited about it, because all of these books are really sheltered good boys dating bad girls. So it's the reverse of the popular good boy, good girl, bad boy trope, which I loved that concept. I haven't read the 2nd book. I don't know if I will or won't. I haven't even decided, but I bought both of these. This one specifically is about a girl named Harley, and I think the guy's name is Adam or something. I don't know. And Harley has a lot of tattoos, and she has this crazy past, and she's running away from an abusive household situation. Definitely check trigger warnings, okay? But we find out at the 80% mark, after Harley and the main guy in this have gotten together, been intimate on page. It's a spicy book. It's a spicy series, which normally I'm fine with. In an adult contemporary romance, I'm okay with a sex scene. I don't mind it. But we find out that Harley actually lied about her age, and she is 17. And the main guy is in college, and he's 20 something. And it was irrelevant to the story. It didn't even need to be there. Why do we even make her 17? It's set in college. She managed to get into this college. Just make her a college student. It just was so stupid. It made me so mad. So, yeah, 2 stars. I only gave it 2 stars because if that sentence would have been taken out of the book, that line of her being, by the way, I'm 17, was taken out of this book, it would have been a 3.5, 4. It was fun. And the writing wasn't bad, but why the fuck would that be it just, I was very annoyed by that plot twist. So I read this 2 stars. Unfortunately, after that, I read 2 novellas. I read 2 fantasy novellas. This is when I started to transition. The romances, you could just tell they weren't really doing much for me. I kept having quite low ratings. I think I was just getting too picky maybe. So I was let me try some fantasy. And I heard that Bree, who wrote these novellas, I heard that she started this new series, and it's gonna be a big fantasy romance series. But I love a good fantasy romance, and it has fae, and I love a fae romance. We already know this. I'm a slut for a good fae fantasy. So I was okay. And it has, the first book is out. I'll put the cover of it on the screen. But before you read the first book, you are encouraged to read these 2 novellas, The Scepter and the Sword. So I read the story. I gave it 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed her as a main character. And the writing wasn't perfect, but it was surprisingly good. Like, I don't know why. I had heard negative reviews about the Broken Bond series, like writing. But I liked the writing a lot. And it was interesting. Then we have The Sword, which is about the main guy in the series. His backstory is he's like a fae prince or whatever. And I really liked it as well. I also gave it 4 stars. So I think I liked the girls novella, the first novella first, but like I liked it a little bit more, but they were both like a 4-star read. Pretty good for a novella. Like they definitely packed a punch. And there was a lot in there. Like they're short, but they don't feel short when you're reading them, you know? So I really liked those. I am gonna read the first book in the full series at some point. I haven't yet, but I think I will continue the series and give it a shot. Okay, then I DNF'd a book. I decided to DNF a book, not because I didn't like it. This is not like I'm never gonna read this. I did not like this book. I don't even care to finish it. DNF. This is a soft, what I like to call a soft DNF, which is like I'll get like halfway or 20% or whatever into a book, and I'm just like, this is a good book and it's fine, but it's just not what I'm in the mood to read right now. So I'm gonna put it down and come back to it. And it is a book club book, so I feel a little bit bad about DNFing it, and so many people in the Discord and in the book club were like, no, like they loved this book and they were upset that I like hadn't finished it, but I just it wasn't doing it for me right now. It's The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I know some of you even commented and said like, I was looking forward to your thoughts on this book. I did read half of this. I read like I think exactly 51% of it, and I just didn't care to finish it, and that's for 2 reasons. I still recommend this. I still would probably give it like a 4-star rating if I didn't end up rating it, because I think I'm gonna finish it later. Eventually I'll come back to this series, but I just wasn't feeling it in the moment. And then I got on Goodreads, and the second reason why I DNF'd it was because someone that I had added on Goodreads, one of y'all that had added me on Goodreads, reviewed this book, and in their review it was almost 1 sentence, and it said, can't believe this book ended with blank trope, and there was a specific trope, and it spoiled the ending for me. And I was just like, well, okay. And this is a vampire book. If you don't know what this is about, this is a fantasy romance available on Kindle Unlimited. And it's about this girl who enters this competition. It's like a fight to the death, Hunger Games style. And everyone in it is mostly vampires, but the last person standing gets a wish, like from this god. And it's really cool. The vampires, like there's like 3 different types of vampires, I think. And like they're very unique and very well thought out. Like this is not a Twilight vampire. Do you get what I'm saying? They reminded me more of like a demon or a fae or an angel, because they have wings, and their wings are different and they have different powers, and there's like this politics between the different vampires. And Aurea, our main character, is not a vampire, but she was adopted by a vampire king. So it was cool, and I liked Aurea, and I liked the audiobook, and I liked the writing. I like Carissa Robbins' writing, and I will read more from this author, but I just like didn't really care about the romance. A lot of it is more about the romance, and I didn't care about Rain and the romance, and I didn't really care about like I remember the vampires being confusing, like all the different types of vampires in the world building. Like it was just a little bit too much for my brain at the time. So I will be DNF. I did DNF this. I will revisit it at a later date though. And I do recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. It's worth the hype, but it just wasn't like what I was in the mood for. Something about it I wasn't connecting with, and it was a me problem, you know? But then I was like, this is when I kind of felt like I was in like a little bit of a slump. You know, I'd had like 2-star reads. The only thing that I enjoyed was those novellas, really. A DNF. up. It went absolutely viral on like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, in the book content community. It is a new adult college, like a war college fantasy romance about a dragon riding academy. So there's dragons, there's romance, and it's set like in a college, and it's a fun time. It is so fun. I gave it 4 stars. Everyone's hyping it up, saying it's the best book ever, it's the best book of the year. I will say the plot twist at the very end, everyone talks about how crazy the ending of this book is. It's the first book in what's going to be like a 5-book series, I think. So I think each one's gonna like end on a cliffhanger type beat. I guessed the twist though, like it didn't shock me. Like I wasn't like gagged, like I feel like a lot of people were. I was like, that's it. I kind of didn't love the ending. The romance wasn't it for me. It felt like Violet was begging the guy to like be like open up, and like they obviously had feelings for each other, and there was this sexual tension, and they're like attracted to each other, and you can feel that, which I loved. And I was like giving like the first 50% of this book, I was obsessed, okay? But then like he had secrets, and she knows he has secrets, and he's kind of just playing that game where he's like, I just want to be hooking up, we can't be together, like you can't know my secrets, we can't get close. And it's just her like begging for him to like open up. And to me, watching a woman beg a man to like be open with her and like have feelings is like not romantic. So I docked a star for the romance, and that aspect I didn't care for it. I actually just loved the plot, like the school, the side characters, the dragons. They're so funny. Like this shit is so funny. It's fast paced, it's silly. If it sounds like something you'd like, I'd highly recommend it. 4 stars. I will continue the series. I will at least read like the next book in the series when it comes out. I think it comes out in November. So after that, I was still chasing that high. It got me out of a book slump. I wanted to read more romance series, so I did something crazy. I did something wild. I did something kooky. I finally caught up in the ACOTAR series, and I read A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. And as you might be able to tell from all of my tabs, I fucking loved this book. Like, okay, I understand this book is kind of like hit or miss, I would say, between the people that have read this series. The series is everywhere. If you haven't read it, like I'm not even going to talk about what it's about because it's so popular that if you haven't read it, it's like you're probably not going to. But honestly, the first book's not my favorite, but otherwise I do like it. There's just something about Sarah J. Maas's work, like the way her writing style is, that's just very entertaining. I think her books on audio are super fun to listen to. The narrators are always really engaging, so I did listen on audio and read the physical, like I tandem read it. But my problem with the ACOTAR series, I do not like Feyre. I think she's kind of an annoying main character. Being in her head kind of frustrates me, and I know some people ride for Miss Feyre, and that's cool. I respect it. I support it. I just am not a Feyre girly. But Nesta is way more my speed. Like, she is a bad bitch, and she is mean, and I love mean women. And this book deals so much with mental health. And like, everyone can shit on Sarah J. Maas all they want, but one thing that she's gonna do really well every time is do like mental health rep. I totally get why people don't like this book, but I liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I thought the smut was fun as fuck. Like, it was intense. There's so much smut in this book compared to the other ones. I truly feel like this is the only Sarah J. Maas book that I've read thus far that I would truly classify as spicy. I don't think any of the other ACOTAR books are truly spicy like this. And I stand, first of all, Cassian is so much hotter than Reese. Reese could absolutely never. I also fucking hated Reese and Feyre in this book, so that was a slay. They were like honestly part-time villains in this book, and I, as someone that already didn't like Feyre, I was was here for it. Nesta just has more flavor. She has more personality to me. And this felt to me like Sarah J. Maas was writing fan fiction about her own characters. Like, this is Sarah J. Maas writing ACOTAR fanfic. And I loved every second of it. I gobbled it up. So, I am a Nesta stan account. And I cannot wait for I'm hoping we will get a Asriel and Gwen, is that her name? The girl that we meet in this book. I hope we get their book ASAP. Sarah. I need it, Sarah. I'm serious. Loved A Court of Silver Flames. It was my top read of the month. 4.5 stars. It was so close to getting a 5-star. So close. But towards the end, it is long. It is like a whole 700 page book. Man, it's long. But I had so much fun until like the last 100 pages, and it kind of did start to drag a little bit. Then I listened to an audiobook. I listened to Pageboy by Elliot Page. Yeah, June was Pride Month. I did do a whole like Pride Month book rec video if you haven't seen it. But this was on my radar, and I'm so glad I got to pick it up. It came out last month as well. This is Elliot Page's memoir that discusses a lot about both, one, how he realized that he was transgender and his experiences of that, but then also coming out and his sexuality, and how those were interconnected but also very separate experiences for him. And I thought he narrated the book very, very well. He narrates it himself, and I love memoirs for that reason. I love hearing someone tell their own story, and he did a great job with the narration. I loved the cover. I loved some of the bits of writing. Like, there were quotes from the book that I adored. Like the author's note, for example, like made me cry instantly. So there were parts of it that I loved. I loved the stories. Elliot talks a lot about his childhood and like recounts childhood memories. And even though like I am a cis woman, I related a lot to just the funny little childhood tidbits he would talk about. Like, he would talk about like the way something smelled, or something he did that was fun with his mom or whatever, and like that, those memories like brought back my memories. So I enjoyed it. Okay, but I only gave it 3 stars. If I was like rating it, I'd give it 3 stars because the organization of this book was kind of all over the place, unfortunately. Like, the timeline didn't really make sense. Like, I feel like normally a memoir will either have like a chronological timeline or one that like splits chunks of their lives, you know, but I felt like the stories would just jump back and forth. Like, the topics would be all over the place. That was my only like qualm with it. It just felt like it needed to be edited and organized differently. So yeah, after that I read a spicy novella. I was just bored on the weekend, wanted something quick and easy to read. I saw someone read this on Goodreads, and I just checked it out. It's like a gamer boy spicy novella. It's called A Glitch. I don't remember literally anything about this. 2 stars. I don't remember a single thing. I remember like it did its purpose. I just wanted something spicy and short, and that's what it was. But like, would I recommend it? No. I remember he called the girl, it's like a romance, whatever, but he calls her like Kitty, which is not the pet name for me, not my pet name of choice. 2 stars. And then lastly, the last book that I read in June was a winner. Yay! This is Mile High by Liz Tomford. This is a adult romance. This was sent to me by a subscriber. I wanted a romance after finishing this behemoth. I wanted something just fun and easy, and that's exactly what Mile High was. So I picked this up, and it was great. I gave it 4 stars. Again, lots of 4 stars, no 5 stars this month, but it was good. There were just a few things that like were kind of cheesy a little bit. The subscriber that sent this to me even put in the note, I read this book private plane for this hockey team. And who is on this hockey team? Sanders. Sanders is like the team bad boy, and he has this reputation for being like a womanizer. And they kind of have like a dislike, annoyance to flirty tension, like relationship, and it's just really, really fun. Stevie struggles a lot with like her body image, and that was something that I really, really related to. And Sanders is a man that goes to therapy. He's been in therapy for like 10 years, but he has like childhood trauma with his parents that he's like working through. And I just loved the communication in this book. I loved the spice. I loved Sanders. He has rings, and Sanders was just my type. Like, he just has tattoos, rings. He's always like dressed super nicely, and that's just, he was very, very, very yummy. Definitely a new book boyfriend for me. And I'm super excited to read the next book in this series of interconnected standalones, but it was really good. 4 stars. Highly recommend if you like a hockey romance. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for watching today's video. Those are the 12 books that I read in June. Again, sorry that this was so delayed, but I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope if anything that it relaxed you in some way. I'm sending you lots of love and light wherever you are in the world tonight. And that just rhymed.